Rain falls on marble steps. A single suitcase waits outside an old villa as a woman's voice whispers, "He was never meant to know." The camera moves through a hallway of portraits, faces of men who built an empire from. What happens when the world's most feared man discovers the heir he was never told about? This is the story of a woman who worked as a maid inside one of Italy's most feared crime families during the late 1990s. Her name has been changed for safety, and her account, supported by partial court documents and local reporting, reveals the private life of a man once known only as Don R. It matters today because her hidden child, now an adult, has become a key witness in ongoing legal efforts to recover the family's hidden fortune. The story blends love, secrecy, and power, and how even the smallest act of defiance can alter a criminal dynasty. In 1995, a young woman named Lucia, name changed, began working at a large coastal estate near Naples. The property Bella Lucia's duties were simple, clean, serve, and remain unseen. But she soon caught the attention of the boss himself. Former staff described her as quiet, precise, never asked questions, to a businessman later identified as Roberto D., a figure linked to regional smuggling and protection rackets. By 1996, the relationship had turned personal. According to Lucia's later testimony, it began after a New Year's celebration when she was asked to bring wine to his study. Months later, she discovered she was pregnant. Fearing both the Mafia's code of silence and the jealousy of the boss's legal wife, she fled the villa under the pretext of visiting her sick mother. In 1997, Lucia gave birth in secret. Birth records list no father. She worked small jobs under a false name for several years. Meanwhile, Don R's empire expanded through shipping and construction contracts. He was arrested in 2001 but continued to control operations through intermediaries. In 2004, a family associate reportedly discovered an old photograph, Lucia, holding a child who bore a striking resemblance to the boss's younger self. Rumors spread through the underworld. Within months, she was located. She later told investigators that Roberto did not punish her, but insisted on seeing the boy. Their meeting was brief, emotional, and secret. By 2008, Roberto was killed in an internal power dispute, leaving behind an empire of debt and distrust. But investigators later found a hidden ledger referencing a trust fund for L, an unnamed heir. Today, that same child, now in his late 20s, has provided DNA evidence linking him to Roberto's lineage. How do you prove family when the father ruled a world built on lies? Italian media outlets including La Repubblica and Il Mattino reported on the estate raid that confirmed Roberto D's financial operations. Court files show a sealed testimony from a domestic witness describing an unregistered child. A DNA report dated June 2023 confirms a 99.97% paternal link between the late Roberto and the claimant known as Marco. Photographs provided to investigators show Lucia and her child taken in Bari in 1998. Experts verified film stock and timestamps as authentic. While no direct financial records list the child by name, prosecutors have traced transfers labeled from an offshore entity to a Neapolitan trust. Some former associates dispute that Lucia and the boss had a personal relationship, arguing she may have invented it after his death to gain inheritance rights. Others point to consistent witness statements and DNA proof as strong indicators that the child's story is genuine. Still, gaps remain. There are no photographs of the pair together inside the estate, and Lucia's diary, referenced in early reports, has never been publicly released. Legal experts note that both narratives could hold partial truth. The relationship may have existed privately, but was impossible to acknowledge in a culture where the boss's image depended on control and family honor. For Lucia, years of fear left deep marks. Neighbors recall she rarely smiled and avoided cameras. Her son grew up without knowing his father's name, learning only in adulthood the danger surrounding his past. Today, he lives under partial protection while cooperating with authorities in tracing assets. He has publicly said, "I don't want money. I just want the truth about who he really was." Families of former victims also watch closely. For them, the revelation of an heir raises painful questions about inheritance and justice. Who benefits from a fortune built on suffering? Sociologists describe this story as an example of legacy fractures when private lives collide with systems built on secrecy. The Mafia depended on control not just of business, but of emotion. Love was seen as weakness. Legal scholars highlight how hidden heirs complicate asset recovery. If DNA proves kinship, the law must decide whether that bloodline can claim property seized under criminal statutes. It's like finding a key that fits two doors, one leading to truth, the other to chaos. Cultural historians say it also reframes the Mafia narrative. Behind power and violence, there are untold domestic lives, maids, wives, and children living in silence, shaping history from the shadows. A maid fled to protect her child. A boss found out years later. DNA now connects them beyond doubt. What remains unclear is intent. Did he protect them or hide them for his own legacy? The final act asks what happens when the underworld leaves behind a human heart. Authorities are expected to continue tracing offshore funds linked to the ledger. Recovery likelihood high, given recent forensic matches. If courts confirm Marco's status as biological heir, he could become a protected witness in financial restitution cases. Impact on ongoing Mafia trials. Medium, depending on admissibility of documents seized in 2012. Future family reconciliation remains uncertain. Lucia, now in her late 40s, reportedly lives under a different identity abroad. Her willingness to testify publicly is low, according to prosecutors. In the end, this story isn't about crime or inheritance, it's about the quiet cost of secrets. A maid, a boss, a child, 3 lives tangled between fear and love. Some empires crumble by law, others fade because someone chooses honesty. To explore another story of hidden identity and power, watch our next documentary, The Banker's Daughter Who Exposed a Billion-Dollar Empire.